this 2023 iteration is doing things a bit differently. Hello everyone, hola a todos. You are listening to Miami Total Football Radio, the #1 podcast for all things Inter Miami, a podcast that has been listened to in 50 countries and counting. More than 50 countries, actually. It's also a podcast where the beautiful game collides with passion and analysis. And yes, we are bilingual here, so this is a bilingual podcast. And we will be providing you with all the latest news, analysis, opinions, inside information, general punditry, and much, much more on Inter Miami via, well, normally a group of seasoned South Florida-based reporters. This time, it's just a duo, a dynamic duo. I'm one half of that duo. My name is Franco Panizo, one of your regular co-hosts, and the other half is none other than Ajicita herself, formerly known as Andrea Yanez. Andrea, no Jose in the house this week, but I know you're ready to fill the void, fill the shoes, carry the load. Andrea, how are you doing today?
Hi, Franco. Nice to be back. Yeah, I'm representing our household in the podcast today alone, but I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. This is going to be, I expect a good podcast with a little less fighting than usual, because when the team is winning, everything flows, right? So it's going to be a little bit interesting to see. We will always find something to fight about, so well, let's do it. Let's get ready.
Can you dispel the rumors that Jose is not on this week's show because you punished him because of the Media Cup or the Media Game defeat that we suffered? Can you dispel that rumor?
I cannot either confirm or deny. He's going to be back. We're going to go on a week-to-week basis. Okay.
All right. It depends how much smack talk he has brought up in the household in the week leading up to the pod. Okay. Understood. All right. Well, we have quite a bit to talk about, and we might not disagree, like Andrea said, all that much this week. Maybe we will. Maybe we see things a bit differently. But it's clear that the narrative around Inter Miami right now is a positive one, because they have gotten off to a very good start to this 2023 season. Back-to-back wins after defeating the Philadelphia Union. We will dive into and analyze that match, the most recent victory. We will preview this upcoming weekend's match against New York City FC. We are going to talk about what a finish from the finish. Robert Taylor's golazo. We're going to talk about that, as well as a lot of other individual performances and starts to the season. So we've got a lot to talk about. But before we get to all of that, Andrea, what does this podcast also go by?
Miami Total Football Radio. I'm going for your job now.
See, wasn't that fun? I thought you were going to say Miami, though, in Spanish, but you went with Miami, but that's fine. Wasn't that fun? Wasn't that fun?
It was.
I challenge all the listeners out there to do it at home. You don't have to say it on the mic. You don't have to send us an audio, but just do it at home and see if you have as much fun as we do it. Maybe your rolling of the R's is exquisite, maybe it's not, but I guarantee you, if you try it, you'll probably have a good time. So, Andrea, thank you for that. Let's get to it. All right, so we are going to jump right into it all here. No other news to talk about beforehand. Jumping straight into this most recent game, which took place this past Saturday at Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, the Week 2 or Match Day 2 Eastern Conference bout between Inter Miami and the Philadelphia Union. And Inter Miami wins this game by a 2-0 mark. Goals from Corentin Coco John in the 32nd minute. That's the game winner. And then Robert Taylor with a stunning volley in the 77th minute to ice the match. We will dive into the golazos that they both scored in just a second. But this was Inter Miami's starting lineup against the Philadelphia Union. It was the same lineup as in week 1. So like Jose predicted a week ago, Jose Armando, who is not in the house.
He's in the grande.
Well, equipo que gana no se toca, as Jose said last week. Yeah. A winning team goes untouched. And that's exactly the mantra that Phil Neville adopted, or the approach that Phil Neville went with, because 4-2-3-1 again. There was Drake Callender in goal, DeAndre Yedlin, Sergei Krivstov, Christopher McVeigh and Franco Negri was your back four from right to left. The first line of the midfield was comprised of Jean Mota and Gregory. The second line of the midfield, from right to left, Corentin Coco-Jean, Nicolas Stefanelli, Rodolfo Pizarro, and then up top, as the 9, Joseph Martinez. So, we've given the quick recap, we've given the lineup, but we've got to dive into probably the biggest individual talking point from this game, and that is Robert Taylor's golazo, his highlight reel finish. Spectacular stuff. Just the overall scenes, the emotion at the stadium. I mean, there's so much to talk about there. Like, I loved every bit of Phil Neville's reaction to the goal, and it's a shame that the camera on the broadcast doesn't really catch it. But in the stadium, it's what my eyes went to first. I don't know if it was just by pure coincidence that I caught it, as opposed to seeing Robert Taylor's celebration. But Phil Neville, for those who may have missed it, as soon as he sees the goal, he's facing the play, of course. And as soon as the ball goes in, he turns around. He literally bursts into a scene of ecstasy. He turns around, arms flailing to the side, runs over to Jorge Mas, gives Jorge Mas a very euphoric, very passionate hug. Then after that, he stands on I don't know what you call it, where we sat after the media game, I don't know what you call that. The things that are in front of the suites, it's not a seating area, but it's like a block.
A block, un bloque de concreto.
It's like a block of concrete that is in front of all the outdoor VIP areas, so that there's some separation from the field. And Phil Neville, if I'm not mistaken, from what I can see in the press box, he stands on that and he raises both of his fists. Again, just pure ecstasy, pure bliss, and he gives a double fist pump to the West Stand. And that's as Robert Taylor and Inter Miami players are celebrating the goal on the field. Andrea, you had a much different vantage point than I did. Because you're on the field, you're taking pictures, and you weren't, at least in this game, because I know sometimes, you're next to me in the press box, filling in for Jose. But on this one, you were on the field. What can you share with us about your vantage point of that exquisite piece of a goal?
Well, listen, I was sitting there and I was watching the play. I was thinking like Mota was going to link up with Pizarro,
right?
When the play began, but I didn't expect that from Robert Taylor. When I saw him move, I realized what was going to happen, and I saw him hit it like that. It was a very nice goal, a very technical finish that not many players can do, especially in this league. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. And in the field, I saw Phil, but then I concentrated on the players because the players couldn't believe it. And my favorite thing to personally see is Gregory, because Gregory genuinely is such a nice guy that he gets so happy when anyone scores, because I have seen him when Pizarro scored that goal in preseason, he was ecstatic. I saw him with Corentin Jean with his goal in the first half. He was ecstatic. But I saw his face in this goal and when he went to hug Robert Taylor, and he was like the best description that I could see, because his face was like, oh my God, what a goal. And also my favorite thing was yelling, because I was taking pictures. Of course, I have to follow the players celebrating. And Yellin's face, he went and hugged Robert Taylor, and they went running to celebrate with the people. And Yellin had his hand over his face, and he was saying I don't believe it.
I can't believe it. Like, wow, yeah.
Because that was the quality of that goal. And in that moment, after they finished celebrating, I sent you guys a text, and I told you, that is what going to train to Europe for 2 weeks makes you remember how to kick the ball like that, because it was really, really a nice goal. One of the best goals I've seen in MLS. Listen, only Zlatan, Henry, Sean Wright Phillips, Joseph in his good days.
Bradley Wright Phillips.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Bradley. Sorry. I was talking about his brother who did not do so good. But only those players I have seen scored goals like that in this league, and it was really nice to see. And it was really nice to see also the people, because I like watching the photos after, and I saw the people during the celebrations, and everyone was like, wow, surprise when you score a goal like that is scored. Everyone gets happy. Everyone gets like in party mode, in celebration mode, and especially because what of that goal meant. Because in that moment, Philadelphia was looking like they were going to get a tie, right? So the goal came in an exact good moment and make the place go crazy and made everyone go crazy.
Phil Neville said it was probably our one moment of quality in the second half. Robert Taylor said it's probably the best goal of his career. So, I mean, this was a fine, fine goal. If you have not seen it somehow, between Saturday and the time you're listening to this podcast, do yourself the favor and look up that goal. Whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, find that goal and watch it. You'll probably want to watch it more than once. If you've seen it, you probably want to watch it again after listening to this, because that's how good the goal was. It should absolutely be the goal of the week. It is definitely, unless this MLS season is full of exquisite goals, it's definitely going to be in contention for goal of the season in MLS, just because that's how good the goal is. I agree with you, though, and I do think Jean Mota's pass was initially intended for Rodolfo Pizarro. I don't necessarily think it was for Robert Taylor. I think Robert Taylor, just because of where he was positioned and he was fresh, he had just entered the game, he makes a run and kind of intercepts the ball, if you will, but the way he brings it down perfectly with his chest and does not let the ball hit the ground, he hits a ferocious right-footed volley that Andre Blake, one of Major League Soccer's top goalkeepers, if not the best goalkeeper in the league, could do nothing about. He tries to make the effort, tries to get his right hand up, if I'm not mistaken, but the ball came with so much venom that it gets over him into the back of the net. Drive Pink Stadium is elated in full party mode. That iced the game. That put the exclamation point on the week 2 victory, which we will dive into in just a second. But again, I want to reiterate that I really, really like just Phil Neville's celebration, and the reason why I say that is because it's a week 2 game. Even though it's a golazo, you could see other coaches kind of just applaud it or raise a fist, but just the way Phil Neville burst into that level of excitement shows to me how much it means to him. And for week 2, I think that's not something you see in a lot of teams in MLS this early in the season, and I don't think that's the type of intensity you can see in a lot of teams. So the fact that he expressed that, the way he showed that, to me, it means a lot to him at this early junction.
I agree. It means a lot to him. Listen, and Phil comes from a place where you see goals like this every weekend, so he knows what a goal like this means. He knows what it means, especially to Robert. So I think you get that into account, and you see the union that this group has.
No pun intended. No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. That was unintentional. And I really like to see Phil like that, because listen, to be a coach, you need to show your emotions sometimes.
Okay, so I think we just heard either your dog Figo trying to make a guest appearance on the pod, either that, or it's Jose trying to sneak his way back on after saying he couldn't make it. One of the two. But let's go on, because we could talk about that goal for a good long while.
We're gonna talk about it right now. Listen, I like you said, I don't think we're gonna see a lot of those goals in the season. So from now, I can tell you that it's gonna be in the top 3 of the candidates of goal of the season.
You know what? I think we need to dedicate a little bit more time. I think we just, again, because it's technically so very good. There's potencia, there's power behind the shot as well. Like you said, I don't think there's many players, I don't know if in MLS, but I'll say I don't think there's many players on Inter Miami that can score that goal.
Yes.
The way he brings, and it's not even like he chested the ball down in stride. Like, the ball was a little bit behind him. Again, I don't think it was intended for him. It's a little bit behind him, but the way he chests it and gets the ball forward in front of his body, and then is able to smack it with that right foot before the ball hits the ground. It's technical perfection. Exquisite finish from the Finnish. It
was an exquisite finish. That is the thing. When I was there and I saw it, I was like, wow, this is football. This is what it's meant to be. And especially in that goal post, because it's the one that is in front of La Familia.
Absolutely. Gave the fans a big reason to smile. And, look, we'll close things off by saying that, well, again, I think the pass was for Pizarro. It wasn't intended because I don't think he's lofting that pass to Robert Taylor. Look, the fact that Robert Taylor could do that, it's only going to boost his confidence as he gets back integrated into the team. He had been away in Europe, in Finland, working on his green card paperwork. Phil Neville said they almost didn't even have him in the match day roster for this game against the Philadelphia Union, but they know his quality, so they had him in there. And this happened seconds after he came on. His initial touch, his first touch after entering the game, happened just before the goal. He receives a pass out on the left, and he had a player one-on-one, and I expected him, I was sitting in the press box with Jose, I expected him to go at that player. Like, I thought he would take him on the dribble, because Robert Taylor has some dribbling abilities to him. But he didn't, and he played it back out. And Jose and I agreed that we thought it was because he was no estaba perfilado, so he wasn't on his preferred right foot. He was on his left foot in terms of where he was positioned on the field at that time. But then with that pass backwards, then comes the lob eventually, and then obviously chests it down, and then with his preferred right foot, hits it, smacks it into the back of the net, and creates a very good moment and a very good memory for Inter Miami.
I also love Pizarro's face. That you can see it clearly when you see the replay. I love Pizarro's face because when he saw what was happening, you could see it dawn on him like, "Que golazo!" Like you could see him say that. So
it was a gem. It was a
gem. Yeah, it was really fun.
And the reason why I say look it up and not look it up on Miami Total Futbol's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or any social media accounts is because due to Apple's new deal with MLS, we are not permitted to share highlights. So there you go. Unless we're like push tweeting on Twitter, which is allowed from the MLS account or whatever account, we are not allowed to share highlights. Only media that can share highlights is over-the-air television. Womp womp. But that unfortunately is our new reality. But you can find it. It's out there on YouTube. It's out there on Inter Miami's Twitter. Check it out. It's worth watching over and over and over again. Okay, let's dive into the game, Andrea, because we've got quite a bit to talk about with regards to this match that improved Inter Miami to 2-0 for the first time in franchise history. They are tied for first place right now in the Eastern Conference with the New England Revolution. The only two teams in that conference to be perfect through the first 2 match days of the regular season. What were your thoughts on the game? We'll give a little more analysis in a moment, but just give me your initial impressions and thoughts on the victory.
Well, I think Inter Miami played well in the moments of the game that they had to. They took advantage of the chance that they got in the first half with that Coco goal. And that was really important. And they could, when Philadelphia was looking dangerous again, they made some changes and Inter Miami brought their intensity down. Robert Taylor's gem came, and that put the game in their pockets. So I think that was important because you really need, when a team is going to be good, they are not going to play good like every minute of every match. So when they are not playing good like they were in the second half when Philadelphia was coming on top of them and viniéndoseles con todo and attacking, they got a goal. So I think that was the most important thing that in this season, and that is a difference from last season, in this season, they have been able to do that. Maybe not playing the best football in the second half, but they got the 3 points. So I guess that is the bottom line, and that is the most important thing.
So I split this game up into 3 parts. The first half of the second half, and then the second half of the second half, if that makes sense. So the first 45 for me were pretty even. It was a cagey affair, a pretty physical matchup, a lot of fouls, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I was covering this game for the Miami Herald in place of Michelle Kaufman. who was covering the UM basketball. So, if I recall correctly, there were 16 fouls in that first half, 8 apiece, so distributed evenly between the two teams.
The referee was horrendous. Let me say that. Now that you reminded me.
I don't know if he was great, but I don't know if he was horrendous.
He was horrendous.
I don't know if he was horrendous.
Yelling, clapped in his face, and that is a textbook, exactly that it says on the reglamento, rule book, whatever you say in English. It says that is a yellow card, and Yelin clapped for a whole minute in front of him. And the referee was like, la, 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 la.
I guess we found our first thing that we'll really disagree about, because I don't think he had a horrendous game. I don't think he had a great game. I don't think he covered himself in glory, but I don't think it was horrendous. I don't think there was any real blown calls or missed calls. The game was chippy. The game was feisty. Kai Wagner got into it with a few different Inter Miami players over the course of 90 minutes.
Because he let him. That is the problem. That is my opinion, that the referee let the Philadelphia players play a little bit of rough.
I mean, the game was, the first 45 minutes, again, there was 8 fouls apiece. So, there was a lot of fouling from both sides. And there weren't a whole lot of chances in that first half. So, the first half to me wasn't an incredible display of football. However, if you give me the balance of play and I tell you who was the better side, I would say Inter Miami. Were they overly threatening? No. But they were the more dangerous side. They were the team that looked more likely to score. And Coco John's goal comes off of listen, we've raved about Robert Taylor's goal, but, Coco's goal also deserves his plaudits and praise, because he hit a pinpoint laser from the right side from a good bit of way out, and he found the bottom left corner, beat Andre Blake there, who I think gets a hand to it, but just can't get enough of it. It was a very well hit shot from distance. It was a golazo. It just... Any other game, we're talking more about that goal, but because of Robert Taylor's goal, Coco John's finish kind of falls into the back. So a nice goal from him helps. It's a moment of quality, and it helps Inter Miami take a lead into halftime. But I don't think that first half was particularly good one way or the other. I think it was pretty even. Again, I thought Inter Miami was the better, but overall, not a whole lot created in that final third. We'll talk about why in just a moment. We'll talk about Joseph Martinez. But the second half, Philadelphia Union comes out, and I agree that they started looking a little bit better. They started finding their way. They started pushing Inter Miami back into its own defensive third a little bit. Don't think they overly tested Drake Callender. I don't think Inter Miami's defense was overly tested. They did a lot of resolute defending. Thought the back line was very solid again. Second straight game with a clean sheet. Again, we'll also talk about that here in just a moment. But then came the substitutions. Then came the introduction of Bryce Duke. Then came Ariel Lassiter. Then came Ryan Saylor. And I think the substitutions helped Inter Miami. Especially Bryce Duke, who... He also had a couple moments where thought he was a bit too careless with the ball, but overall, the way he entered this game and took advantage of a very stressed Philadelphia Union, the spaces that were left open, and the way he combined and played very quick, 1-touch passes, 2-touch passes, that helped Inter Miami rediscover a bit more from the run of play. They were able to take back some control. And then, obviously, like you said, they get a goal at a very good time, and then that pretty much ices the game. From that point on, they kind of went back into a shell. You even see on the broadcast, as I rewatch the game, like I do every game, you see when Robert Taylor comes in, before Inter Miami scores that second goal, Robert Taylor says, 5-4-1. You see him do the hand gesture twice as he's coming in. And he was playing left wing back. So Inter Miami went to a 5-4-1. The 4 was not a flat 4. It was Gregory and Jean Mota. And then ahead of them in the half spaces, so not quite wingers, but not quite attacking midfielders. They were in the half spaces, a little bit pushed out wide, but not that wide, were Rodolfo Pizarro and Bryce Duke. So, we saw a different look from Inter Miami there as they try to close out the game, and they do. I thought Ryan Saylor did pretty well. Again, like Coco John's goal, a little bit of an afterthought because of everything else that occurred over the course of the 90 minutes, but I thought Ryan Saylor had an impressive performance off the bench. And a lot of players played well in this one.
I think I think the difference of Inter Miami in the second half was really Bryce Duke. Ariel also came and did a good job. But I really like Bryce Duke. Listen, Bryce Duke needs to play a lot of more minutes. He gets along well with Pizarro. He gets along well with Mota. He gets along well with Gregore. He's a very dangerous player that needs more playing time. And I guess with his showings in these two games that he has come in, he's earned to play more minutes, especially because Stefanelli is still not 100%. He can only play 60 minutes, 65 minutes. And I think Bryce will get more chances as the season advances and as the heat and all of that, players are not 100% as with Stefanelli and Joseph Martinez. So I think we're going to see more of Bryce Duke. It's really enjoyable to see him play. I really like that combination between Pizarro, Duke, Mota. I really like it. Inter Miami looks good. I think Ariel came on good. It's really unfortunate that he has to come in like a striker because that is not his position. But hopefully we can see him more during the season. I think he showed last year that he can be a valuable player for the team also. And I agree with you that when Sailor came in after Negri left the game, I was concerned because McVeigh went and played a couple of minutes as
the left back.
As the left back.
They initially stayed in that 4-2-3-1 when Franco Negri left the game with an injury. A few minutes later, though, they end up switching again to that 5-4-1.
Exactly. So I really think Sailor came in well. He was composed. The team was composed in that moment. I think that goal helped them. Obviously, it did help them. And it came in a perfect moment because Philadelphia was becoming a little bit dangerous, especially on that left side with Bedoya, with Carranza. They were really, once Negri left the game, they were really attacking that left side. Inter Miami committed a lot of fouls there, and they got a little bit of opportunities from there. So I think Phil read it well and brought Sailor in, and it solidified the game, and they got another clean sheet. So that is positive.
I think we're going to have our second disagreement here before we get to the defense, because Bryce Duke did have a good game in this match. I liked him better in week 2 than I saw from him in week 1. I do think that the game, the way it unfolded and developed, I think it played to his strengths because, again, there was a lot more spaces for him to attack. And yes, he played some very good passes. He was quick with his decisions. I like that. And I do think it'll help him earn more minutes as the season goes along, and it'll help his confidence. But in games where the other team is not pushing so much forward and there's not so many spaces to attack, I still have questions as to whether he can be effective enough, consistently enough in those scenarios to really, really take that next step. That's just what I think. I know you like the way he combines. He is a technical player, right? So, he can be silky smooth on the ball. And again, he had a good game in this one. But I still have questions about him in certain scenarios and with certain decisions that he makes. The one thing we didn't touch on here, and one of the reasons why Ariel Lassiter had to enter the game as a striker when he made his substitute cameo, is because Schneider Borgelin suffered an injury leading up to this game, and he was ruled out. We've been told he is day-to-day, but you know how Inter Miami likes to classify its injury, so very well could not be day-to-day. I heard Schneider Borgelin suffered that injury in Inter Miami's friendly that they had the Sunday after the Week 1 match against CF Montreal. Inter Miami played
Miami FC.
Miami FC. By the way, I have that score because I know Jose asked Phil at one of the media availabilities afterwards, and Phil just said it was a good game and walked away. 2-2. 2-2. That's the result I was told. So Inter Miami tied Miami FC, or Inter Miami's backups, reserves, substitutes, whatever. They tied Miami FC 2-2. Let's talk about another area that was very good, or another aspect of Inter Miami that was very good, and that was the defensive performance. Like you mentioned, second week in a row, Inter Miami posted a clean sheet. No goals surrendered yet in 2023 in the MLS regular season, which Phil Neville, former defender, will be very, very happy and proud about. Andrea, let's talk bigger picture. Because in this game, we've talked about the defense. We've talked about how Ryan Saylor came in, how they switched to a back five, the back four. I mean, let's just talk bigger picture here. How impressed are you with this defense? And what is the difference? What do you see in this defense that you didn't see in last year's defense?
Franco, the difference is clear. He measures, I don't know how Americans measure in feet, but I don't measure in feet. He measures like like we say in Latin America, 2 meters.
Dos metros.
2 meters, 2 meters tall, and that is
so like 6 feet. 6 feet something.
Yes, I don't know the conversion. I really don't know it.
It's usually around 6 feet. Dos metros, you're talking a little bit more than 6 feet.
Yeah,
Maybe, actually, it could be like 6'4" if we're being like accurate, like trying to be accurate.
Yeah, he is very tall, and he is the principal reason why this defense is better. And we've been talking about him since they got him. Jose even said that he was going to be a star in this team. He's the star of this defense, but also the addition of Negri, who is also a quality player that comes back, even though if he likes to attack, but he comes back and defends with everything.
He has an engine, man. He has Franco Negri has an engine.
Yes, and he is really an impressive player that has shown only in the games that we have seen of preseason and these 2 games of the beginning of the season that he has shown that this league no le quedó grande, like Shakira and Karol G say, because he has adapted very well.
What a reference.
Yes, I had to get it in there somehow. But he has shown that he is ready for this league. And so I think Sergey is the big reason, and Negri is the second big reason why this defense is better. When they traded Damian Lowe, I was a little bit skeptical. I remember we talked about it in the podcast, and I said, let's see. I think they brought an upgrade in Sergey, and this is the difference that it makes. And he brings calm. He brings calm to the defense. He brings leadership to the defense, especially for Drake, especially for McVeigh. And he is the perfect piece that I guess Phil was looking for.
He has brought a lot. Sergei Krivtsov has brought a lot to Inter Miami because he brings composure, calmness, a very good reading and understanding of the game. He's only 6'1" officially, so he's not the tall. He's not actually 6'4", but he plays very big back there just because he's so good positionally. He's so good at understanding when to cover for a teammate. It's just been very, very good. And I agree with you. Franco Negri has also been a plus. I mean, it's early days, but he looks like a longer-term solution to a problem Inter Miami has had, and that's the left-back position. I mean, you go back to 2020, we can name a bunch of players that have played that left-back position. It's been a rotating door of players. I mean, last year, Christopher McVeigh, he was playing out of position, and he held his own for the most part, but clearly he struggled at times because it's not his natural spot. But let's go back to 2020. Mikey Ambrose, Breck Shea, Jovan Jones, Kieran Gibbs. I mean, I'm going through the years now, but that left back has been a headache for Inter Miami since 2020. And Franco Negri, not because he has the same name as me, not because he's my tocayo, not because he's my namesake, I think he has all the makings to be a long-term solution there. And I think defensively, he does the part in the attack as well. Very impressed with both of them. I think they've added to the quality of the back line in terms of defensive skills. I think they're both good defenders. I mean, Krivtsov is better than Damian Lowe as a defender, one-on-one, in a lot of the defensive aspects. And then Negri is as well, compared to, you want to say, McVeigh as a left back or Gibbs last year's left back. Like he's an upgrade there. So these are two players that have upgraded the back line in terms of the overall quality. And I think it also helps simplify things for the other players, especially Negri, right? Especially Negri in terms of the attack, because Negri will now get forward, and the onus is not so much on DeAndre Yedlin to get forward from his spot. Because DeAndre Yedlin does project forward well, and he's fast. But he's not the most technical player, right? Like, he doesn't necessarily deliver a whole bunch of quality balls into the box. He hustles, he puts in his effort, he keeps the defenses on their toes. But he's not the most technical. And last year, because McVay was playing left back much of the year, DeAndre Yedlin was tasked with providing more to the attack as a fullback, because McVay just wasn't going to give you that. Now with Negri, DeAndre Yedlin can now more carefully pick and choose his spots. And I think that plays more to his strengths, because again, he's not the most technical player. So I think Franco Negri's arrival on the left has given Inter Miami more balance, which in turn simplifies things for the backline and for DeAndre Yedlin, which makes him more effective on the field. He's not being asked to do things that he's not necessarily the best at on a consistent basis. I think that has been a big part of the overall defense. It allows him to be in defensive positions a bit more, not have to bombard forward. So so far it's early days. It's only 2 weeks into the season, but the early signs are that this back line, if it can stay healthy and it can stay intact, this back line will be much, much better than what we've seen in these first few years of Inter Miami's short history.
Yeah, I totally agree. And listen, Christoph is also going to be a good influence on Sailor and Mavica. They should learn from him. Even McVay, they should learn from him. He is a true professional, and from what I see, he's going to do well in this league. And maybe we can see more defenders of quality coming into the league, right? Because we've talked about that here a lot of times, that especially players are brought for the attack only. But you can see how one player can make a difference, even if he's not a designated player on paper. He is a star from the team. And also, I wanted to say something I noticed being on the field with Sergey is that he goes and he knows who to go and mark his territory, because he did it with Kyoto, with Montreal, and he did it with Julian Carranza in this game. So he knows, he's like, I'm going to give him this kick here, I'm going to elbow him here to show him, like you do normally in football, like we say in Spanish, lo pone quietos. And he does it. I've seen him in these 2 games. He does it with the most dangerous players that the team has. He did it with Kyoto and he did it with Julian Carranza. So I really like that. And that is his experience, and that is what he brings to his team.
Again, he's just so smart the way he covers for teammates. I mean, there was a couple of plays where Christopher McVay got in a little bit of trouble, and then you had because center backs are supposed to play like expecting an error. You have to provide that cover, and he provided that cover on more than one occasion for McVay and help put out some fires. There's one where he comes and makes a sliding challenge to prevent a shot. So very good defensive performance from the team. Like what we're seeing so far. From that Inter Miami backline. Promising. Very promising. Now, can't forget about Drake Callender. He also came up with a big save here in this match. Still leaving some uncertainty and raising some questions with the ball at his feet. I mean, the play where he makes the fantastic save to keep the game 1-0 in Inter Miami's favor, if I'm not mistaken, is off of a goal kick that he takes. Yes. And he takes it so poorly. It was like, so what? Poor that it didn't go up in the air and was, fought for in the aerial battle for a 50-50. No, it went like almost how would you describe it? Crap.
A perpendicular, like when you
I'm trying to think of a baseball term, like a line drive. It was like a line drive that the Philadelphia Union strikers were like, "Oh crap, it's coming our way," and they took it and they hit back on a 2-on-1 or 2-on-2 quick attack in transition, open look for, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel Gazdag, and Drake Callender, to his credit, makes a massive save. Makes up for the error, atones for his mistake, continues to show a high level in terms of shot stopping, and if he continues that for much of the season, I don't think he's long for Inter Miami. I think some team in Europe will come and sign him if he can show that, but there are questions about him with his feet, and he needs to make improvements there. I'm not saying, again, he needs to be Nick Romando or Nick Marsman, but he can't have those type of mistakes, because that's just...
No,
he's going to get punished eventually.
Feet, yeah, not only with his feet, but kicking the ball out. That I don't like how he does it, and you can see sometimes players, the defenders, some of the defenders come and take despejan because I don't like his technique. I think that is something that he needs to get better. I think he's working on it. And hopefully we see improvement because now he has a good back four in front of him and he needs to be a little bit more confident. And if listen, they are goalkeepers in the history of this sport that don't kick the ball. They don't like to. They don't like to do it, and the central defender can do it for them. That is normal. That is something that Inter Miami may need to think about because I really don't like his kicks, his goal kicks. So hopefully he gets better in that and he advances because he has a great capacity, especially saving shots, and he just needs to get better in that aspect of the game.
Now, let's dive into some other individual performances. And before we do that, actually, I want to update with the news from this week that Inter Miami had 3 protagonists make the week 2 or the match day 2 team. Or the team of the match day, as it's being called now. It's no longer being called team of the week. Sorry. Yeah, I got confused there. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It makes more sense to call it team of the match day than it does to call it team of the week because sometimes you have midweek matches. So I get why they've done the change. I like it. It's just taking my brain a little bit of work to get my head around it. So, team of the match day, 3 Inter Miami protagonists made it on there. Phil Neville, Jean Mota, Rodolfo Pizarro. All 3 very deserving, in my opinion. They join Sergi Christoph and Drake Callender from week 1 as Inter Miami members who have made an MLS team of the match day in 2023. But let's dive into some of these the individual performances. Rodolfo Pizarro had a good game in this one. Very good game in this one. I thought he was better in this one than he was against CF Montreal. He gets credited with a very flattering assist on the Coco John goal, but overall, a solid performance from him. Very involved, lots of touches, put in the work defensively, got involved in the attack. I liked what I saw. I'm sure you're going to sing his praise right now.
You know how I feel, and our listeners know how I feel about Pizarro. I'm glad that he's keeping it up, that he's showing the work. We know what he's capable of, and the question was at the start of the season if he was going to be able to maintain it. I think he has shown in these 2 games, at least at the beginning of the season, that he can get his head into it, that he's very focused, and that he has a good relationship with the team, with the teammates, because I think he feels that he could play with Mota, he can play with Gregory, he can play with Stefanelli, with Bryce Tuck, with Robert Taylor, with Ariel Lassiter. He has a good, not personal, I'm sure he does have a good personal relationship with them, but he has a good footballing relationship with them because they are players that the first season that he was here, Inter Miami didn't have a lot. So now he has them, and those players make him better, have helped him to settle in the team now that he's back, and are helping him to play good. I think he's putting in the work. I think he's playing well, and I am standing by my prediction that he's going to be the best player.
I agree with you that I think the makeup of the team, the build of the roster, better suits his qualities. There's more technical players on that field. There's more football on this team. So a lot more players he can combine with, connect with, get his touches in while also passing the ball quickly. I think it better suits his characteristics and his strengths. And he talked on Tuesday at the media availability at practice, and he said he's playing with a lot more alegría, a lot more happiness that he didn't have last time. Now, he didn't mention a certain someone by name, but
we all know
come on. If you've been following this team long enough, you know
who robbed Pizarro's happiness.
Well, he's definitely part of the formula. He's a factor. He's an ingredient in there. He who shall not be named. No, Gonzalo Higuain is who we're talking about. I'm not going to say that's the only reason. I don't know if it's the major reason, but it's definitely a reason why Pizarro has come back and feels this alegría, as he's saying, that he didn't feel before he left on his loan to Monterrey in 2022. So Pizarro was also asked about his contract and whether, he's talked to Inter Miami about extending his stay. He said no. He said he's focused on just playing the season out and then, seeing what happens from there. I don't think he comes back in any way, shape, or form unless he scores, 10 plus goals and gets 10 plus assists. And even then, I don't know. I don't know if he returns in 2024, but 2023 off to a good start. Andrea Ginmota, I think he deserves a shout here as well. Had a good game. He was taking shots from distance. He got an assist as well. Although I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it was an assist nonetheless. And he was probably Inter Miami's most dangerous player in this one. He took a cross that I don't think counts as a shot. It didn't count statistically speaking by whoever keeps the stats as a shot. But he took a cross that I thought was a shot, but I guess it's a cross in the first half off a free kick that Andre Blake punched out. It went straight towards goal. He also took a shot in the second half that stung off the crossbar. That for some reason, I disagree with this wholeheartedly. That doesn't count as a shot on target. I think it should. If it hits the post, you put it on target. It just didn't go in. But nonetheless, Ginmota, a very good game, was also very involved on the defensive side, breaking things up. Some very good one-touch passes. Did have a couple turnovers here and there, one that almost led to a dangerous chance for the Philadelphia Union. But a solid game for Ginmota, an impressive game for him. Deserved shout there on team of the match day, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like Mota's dynamic this season. Also, Gregory deserves. For me, listen, I talked about Sergey, about Negri, but for me, three best players in these two games for Inter Miami have been Pizarro, Gregory, and Mota. I really like what they're doing. As you say, they have a little mistakes here and there, but they are playing really well, and they are playing well in the system and with what Phil wants from them. So I really like them. Mota was good. One thing I would like to see is Mota and Pizarro that they divide the corners, they divide the free kicks or jugadas preparadas, because sometimes when the same player does it all a game, sometimes you don't get different ideas. So I think they should really divide, and one set of corners should go to Mota, and one set of corners should go to Pizarro, and one free kick should go to Mota, and one free kick should go to Pizarro, one to Stefanelli. But that's just something that I saw this game that I thought about.
Now, we have to talk about, this is both a plus and a minus here for Inter Miami, and we'll dive into it. I think it does deserve some discussion. And I think it's a very interesting talking point, and we're already running long here, so maybe we won't dive into it as much detail or thought as I wanted to initially, but this is the good thing. Inter Miami had 2 shots on target in this game, and they scored both of those goals. So that means Inter Miami was very effective. They didn't need a whole lot of chances. They didn't need 5, 6, 7, 8 shots on target to score the 2 goals that they needed to win this game. And this was against the Philadelphia Union team, by the way, that was full strength. Philadelphia Union had a CONCACAF Champions League match looming after they played Inter Miami. They could have easily rotated players for the Inter Miami game and then gone with full strength lineup for a CONCACAF Champions League, which I thought they would do, but they didn't. They went full strength against Inter Miami, and Inter Miami beat them. So even more merit for Inter Miami for those 3 points. But going back to the attack, Inter Miami made the most out of the chances it had in this game. There's been games in the past, there's been iterations of Inter Miami in the past that have had 8, 9 chances, 7 shots on target, and they haven't put enough away. They'll put 1 away, and that's not enough. And Phil Neville has talked in many post games in the past about how they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. They didn't make the most of their chances. Here, they made the most of their chances, and that is a positive sign for a team, because it shows that you don't need a whole lot of clear-cut quality chances to punish the opponent. Now, if you can create more, of course, absolutely, you'll take it. But if you're effective with the chances you do have, which they were in this one, that's fine. Because, it doesn't help if you create 8, 9, 10 chances, but you only put 1 away. So the fact Inter Miami was effective, I think that's a positive sign. But with that, both of the goals came from outside the box. Inter Miami's 4 goals this season, none have been scored by the number 9 or the number 10. That part of the field is still lacking. Hasta ahorita, until now, no aparece Joseph Martinez. Joseph Martinez has yet to really appear on the field. Yes, he's had some nice touches. He's involved. But in terms of making a real impact, he hasn't been there yet. I know he's not 100% fit, but Inter Miami has won these last 2 games and scored 4 goals without a number 9 putting that ball in the back of the net, which means that they can improve, they can be even better, but it is something that has to be worked on. Your thoughts?
Yes, I totally agree with that. I think I was talking about Stefanelli and him not able to play the whole 90 minutes yet. I think it's the same with Joseph. And I think we saw his frustration when he was substituted for Ari on the game against the Philadelphia. But I think he knows. I think he knows he's not 100%, that he needs to get there. Listen, Phil is giving him the opportunity, especially because now they don't have Campana in this moment. But I don't think Phil is going to change his formation, or he's gonna drive back from this formation to go and play with 2 strikers if by the time that Campana is back, Joseph is not 100%, because he has shown promise in his time on the field, but he's not his old self. And listen, maybe he could never return to be his old self because he had a bad injury. And when that happens, players have it very difficult to come back and perform as it is expected from them. That is totally normal. But I think Joseph needs to get comfortable with how Inter Miami is playing, the responsibilities that he has. And listen, with 1 in the top, it's very hard. It's very hard. Yes, they had the ball the first 30 minutes against Philadelphia in this match, but you didn't see Joseph participating that much. So it's really hard for him, especially when he's alone as a striker. It's gonna be hard. So I don't expect when Campana comes back that they are both going to be playing at the same time. I don't expect that.
So you don't think the 4-4-2 diamond is the number 1 look?
No. I think after Phil has seen this and how the team is playing and how the possibilities, especially that with the changes that he makes, he can change the game. He can revitalize the team without needing a proper striker, because he now has Bryce, he has Robert Taylor, he has Ariel Lassiter, and then he's going to have Lacava, Borgelin, or whatever, who else is on the bench. But he has that option, and Miami finally has enough firepower on the bench to get that if they are losing in the second half, or they need to win the game in the second half if they are tying. So I don't think with what Joseph has shown, it will be convincing for Phil to go back to the diamond, playing with both strikers at the same time.
So I'm not so convinced yet that he's moving away from the 4-4-2 diamond if and when Campana and Jose Martinez are both healthy and in form. Like, I still think right now this is my sensation, I still think the 4-4-2 diamond is the number 1 look. Now, do I think the 4-2-3-1 has given Phil Neville something to think about? Absolutely. Would I stick with the 4-2-3-1 based on what we've seen? Yes, I would. But I'm not so sure Phil Neville's ready to go away from that 4-4-2. Not just yet. But we'll see. We'll see what happens when Campana is healthy again. Still on a week-to-week or day-by-day. And you can't see me, but I'm doing the quotation mark here, gesture with my fingers, because, yeah.
He was doing gym work.
Right, so
this week.
Doesn't look like he's going to be ready for the game against New York City FC, which we'll get to in just 1 second. Quickly back to Joseph Martinez before we put a bow on this game against the Philadelphia Union. He has Futbol to him, and he still has that feistiness and that competitiveness, which has, defined him here in MLS. Yeah. And I like that, and I see those characteristics still there. What I haven't seen from him, and again, he's not 100% fit, 100% sharp, I understand that, but what I'm not seeing, and this could be due to age, could be due to the injury, could be due to all of that, a lot of it is coming underneath him. Like, he's checking for the ball, he's flicking it on, he's playing one-touch passes, laying the ball off, but I'm not seeing him make diagonal runs in behind. I'm not seeing him, stretch that defense. Like everything is
The injury.
to his feet, right? So
Yes.
it's
scared.
not. So
He's
it's not
scared.
in the final. I don't know if he's scared. I just don't know if he's going to be the same player.
He's not the
making
same. Yeah.
right. He's not making
Yes.
those runs into the final third, where if you feed the striker and you play the ball into space, then he's got an open look on goal. It's more being, they're checking the ball to him. It's all underneath. It's all behind him instead of in front of him.
Yes.
Right? So, like, he's not being put in positions, or he's not putting himself, he's not putting himself in more dangerous positions to put the ball into the back of the net. And I think, I don't know how he can get that back. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. But that's the concern.
Injury,
but it's been years, Andrea. It's been years now. Like, is he going to get that back? Is he going to become that player again?
That is what I was saying. Sometimes players never come back to what they were, and it could be the case with Joseph, because listen, when he came to MLS, we came accustomed to see him play like the way you're describing, and with an injury like the one that he has, it's almost impossible to go back and do the same, because, if he does that and someone, let's say, the Sergei Christoph of another team, New York City FC doesn't have your compatriot Callens anymore, but let's say Callens was there and Callens hits him on the leg that he suffered the injury, it would be his career done, because he would get injured again. That is what happens with the injury. So for a striker, it's more noticeable, especially for a striker like Joseph, because Joseph was very physical and like you were describing him, but it's not there anymore. Maybe he can build up on him, and it's going to help him that he plays now for a team that doesn't play in a synthetic field. That is going to help him tremendously. So hopefully we see his progression during the season, but in this moment, he's not there.
Yeah, and that's something that I think Inter Miami as a whole will benefit from if and when he can get there, or when Campana comes back and he can provide that, because that's what's been missing in that final third. And if you look at the two games, is there one real dangerous chance that Joseph Martinez has had that comes to mind?
No.
I remember one shot that he had against CF Montreal, but he shot it. It was outside the box, and he shot it wide to the right. So he has yet to really test the opposing goalkeeper. Again, he's not 100% sharp or 100% fit. As he gets better, maybe it'll come. But now, I'm not seeing him.
If he had Campana, because obviously for a striker, it's easier when you get someone else to do that job. And we have seen Campana that he's able to do that job because he is a little bit more physical, more taller, has a more athletic build-up than what Joseph has in this moment. So it would have been different to see them both start playing together, I think, for Joseph, for the team, and for especially both of them. But now that he's all alone there, it's going to be difficult for him to get to his form 100% if he's not getting as many touches, as many chances as he wished he had.
Well, Inter Miami will benefit from the eventuality that a number 9, whoever it is, can give them more dangerous play in that final third. Because, again, they're winning games right now without that. Now, if they can add that, incorporate that to what they've shown so far, then they're that much more of a dangerous team. Andrea, very quickly, let's just preview the game this weekend against New York City FC, Inter Miami's first road game of 2023. They travel to the very compact Yankee Stadium field to play a very different New York City FC. Another Eastern Conference game. It's a good opportunity to continue this strong start to the season, because this NYCFC team is not, again, it's missing quite a few players. You touched on Alexander Callens, no longer a part of that NYCFC roster. They've lost several other players as well.
Morales also.
They're not off to a great start this season. They lost on the road to Nashville SC 2-0 in their season opener, and then they tied on the road against Chicago Fire 1-1. So this is a good chance, I think, for Inter Miami. I think if you get a draw in this one, you're happy. If you get 3, you're ecstatic. But I think there's a real chance you got to get something from this, and I think that they can get something from this, and I think that they should get something from this. Going on the road's not easy, especially on that small field, but I think the chips are there for Inter Miami to pull out a result. Andrea, what's your key to the game for Inter Miami in this one?
I think the key to the game for Inter Miami is to keep the ball possession, to take it away from New York City, especially in that small field. It will benefit them tremendously not to give the ball away to a team that knows how to play in those dimensions. And if they can keep that, they are not gonna suffer a lot in defense. I can't imagine Sergey's face when he sees that field. He's gonna be disappointed, man. He's gonna say, "What is this?" Negri also and Stefanelli, they're gonna be horrified. But I think if they can keep the ball, if they can keep not give it away like they've done against New York City FC historically in playing in baseball fields, not only in Yankee Stadium but in the other stadium, also in City Field. They can have a chance. They can have a chance, especially because New York City FC is not the team that was last year and not remotely the team that was the champion a couple of years ago. So this is the chance for Miami to get that first result in New York City's house. They could win it. I can see them winning this game if they play it well, if they can remain compact and be intelligent in the way they played in that small field.
I agree with you. I think possession is the key to the game in this one. It's a small field. It lends itself to transitions. It lends itself to chances for especially the home team, which is comfortable, which knows the field, knows the dimensions. It's used to it a little bit more. I think keeping the ball, knocking it around, and taking some of the sting away from NYCFC in that way will help. And again, this is a weakened NYCFC team. No Collins, no Sean Johnson, who's now with Toronto FC. You know, that defense is not what it was. And I think Inter Miami, with what it's shown, it can make NYCFC pay. So I definitely think Inter Miami has what it takes to pull out a victory. A draw is also a good result for them. Not the best, but it's a good one. Losing kind of takes away some of the positive shine from the start of the season. So I think they need a result.
Yeah, especially because they have not gotten good results there historically since that team's inception. So it will be important. This is the moment to do it because, as we have been talking, New York City FC is not the same. It's not even a great team or a team that has a lot of expectations this season. So Inter Miami should take advantage of that, especially because there are their rivals in the conference, and they are the rivals that eliminated them in the
They're
last
opponents.
season.
Rivals means
Opponents,
like
yeah.
your enemy, which is Orlando City for Inter Miami. But I get what your point is.
Yeah. So
Okay, Andrea, quickly, and this will close out this segment. Lineup for Inter Miami. Same exact thing? Equipo que gana no se toca?
yes, the same.
Okay, I agree. Franco Negri, again, trained with the team on Tuesday, so he should be healthy and ready to go. As far as we know right now, no other players from that starting group have an injury right now. So I think it's the same lineup. All right, well, we'll leave it there. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back for a very quick Q&A session. Our final thoughts, we'll do that after this. Q&A time. Andrea, by the way, you've kind of gotten away a little bit from your Ajicita moniker. I know in this week's pod, we're more in line, we're more in agreement, team's winning, so a lot more kumbaya for us here. But, I don't know, lately I haven't felt you go in as hard as you used to. I don't know what it is. But let's see.
They're winning.
Okay, well, let's go. Quick Q&A. First one comes from Holly Holman, and I'll leave this one for you, Andrea. Chances Pizarro renews his contract for less than DP money?
No chance. He's still young, and he wants a possibility. If you hear his thoughts today, I think you would be sure that if he wanted to stay in this league, he would want to conserve his DP status.
I agree that there's almost next to no chance that he signs anything less than a DP. deal. I mean, he's on a DP deal now. Why would he take less? Unless he's so happy in Inter Miami. Unless tiene tanta alegría from here until next year. Like, I don't see him just taking less than DP money. I mean, he's going to want to get paid. And that's, I don't see him back. I don't see him back.
Especially because he would be older, and it would be one of the last chances that he would get to get that kind of amount of money.
Right. So let's go to another one. It's from Damon Staw 80. If Inter Miami was not an MLS team, what team would you guys support in MLS and why? So I don't support Inter Miami. I cover Inter Miami. I really enjoy covering Inter Miami. I'll say this. I have fallen in love with covering Inter Miami. The good, the bad, the ugly. Absolutely. I'm a South Florida guy. Having a team in my hometown, in my market, is great. And it's awesome to be able to go to a stadium on a weekly basis. Something I couldn't do earlier in my career when I was, when I had to move to New Jersey and cover the Red Bulls. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, but I don't actively root for Inter Miami. I don't think Andrea does either, and I don't think Jose does
Only one
either.
team in my heart.
And that is?
The best team in the world. Motagua FC.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I would have respected you more if you would have said Real Madrid, which I know you're also a fan of. But
yes, but
anyway.
No, I want to say something. I don't support any team in MLS. I share Franco's sentiment. You come to get an appreciation for the team that you cover because you go every week, every game, every day. You appreciate the players. But I don't really have a team in MLS. I had a team in the United States and it disappeared. It was the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. So that was my team.
I will say that I'm a fan of the Peruvian national team. Absolutely. I wear the jersey and I sit in the stands and I do all that. But as far as MLS goes, no alliances with anyone. I mean, look, to have a little more fun with the question, I'll say
Orlando.
By the way, Pedro Gales, Peruvian national team goalkeeper, in this last game, he was wearing purple shorts, like Orlando's color, but he was wearing a pink jersey, which I think is ridiculous. I know it's Adidas, I know it's MLS, I know there's stock jerseys, but how can you wear your opponent's, like your rival's color? How does that happen? Like Inter Miami at one point was wearing pink and purple on a goalkeeper jersey like a year or two ago, and I hated it. You should not wear your rival's color ever.
I agree with that. When the media came and we interviewed the guy behind La Palma, I was going to ask about the goalkeeper shirts. I didn't have a chance because the interview was short, but I really wanted to ask about the goalkeeper shirt because, as you mentioned, now with Galese, and we have seen Drake Callender and
Nick Marsman especially.
And Nick Marsman with that aberration. I was going to ask them, why do you not put any effort on the goalkeeper shirt? But I guess it's because of the league and the contract with Adidas, but it would be nice if we got the goalkeepers looking sharp and looking different.
I'll say this to have more fun with the question, because there's a lot of teams that have a lot of things you could be like, man, that's something you could really look up to or like. But I think LAFC has done a lot of things right in terms of the fan experience, and I've gone to that stadium to cover games, and their supporters group, they throw a heck of a party as well. And the vibe in the stadium and the overall atmosphere, I think LAFC definitely has done a lot of things right. So I'm not saying that's who I would support, but I like a lot of what they've done from the outside. I think that they've built a good culture in a short amount of time, and they're very competitive on the field as well, which absolutely helps. Okay, let's leave it there for the Q&A session. There was a question about the latest on Messi, but we haven't really heard anything new. I still think Inter Miami makes a very serious push. And that's from Naya Nagal. It says, please can you tell what's the latest on Messi regarding the Inter Miami move? Has there been any progress? As far as I know,
that was going
progress.
To be my final thought, because I was going to say, if you're an Inter Miami fan that wants Messi to come in June, in the summer, then tomorrow you need to support Bayern, because if PSG wins, Messi is not coming.
So that was a hybrid there between Andrea's final thought and an additional bonus question for the Q&A session. So there we go. We just knocked off 2 birds with 1 stone. My final thought, something I've been wanting to touch on for a couple weeks now, and it's that the La Noche jersey for me is the best jersey Inter Miami has ever made. We haven't seen it in the regular season yet. They've been wearing the heartbeat pink jersey, but the La Noche jersey, and it's not because I wore one at the media game, but I think it's the best jersey Inter Miami has ever made. And the reason for it is because there's more contrast to it than any other Inter Miami jersey to date. You know, it's predominantly black, but it has a lot of touches of pink. So there's more contrast there. It more catches the eye, and the shade of pink is more eye-catching as well. So it pops a little bit more. So I like the look. I definitely hate the monochrome crest. I get why they did it. I get what they were going for. I understand it. But I think the only thing for me, for my overall taste, my jersey likes and dislikes, I think if it had been the regular crest with the same design, I think it would have been perfection. Perfection. Best jersey Inter Miami's had to date. Next year when they unveil a new home jersey, hopefully it's pink with a little bit more black so that there's more of a contrast. But absolutely, La Noche to me, best Inter Miami jersey to date. Absolutely. Maybe we should do a power rankings at some point. I think that first away jersey during the 2020 season with the 3 stripes on the right shoulder, I think that's absolutely probably the worst one they've had. But anyway, all right, we can talk about that later. Let's leave it there for now. You guys have been listening to Miami Total Futbol Radio. So for Andrea, Yanez, I am Franco Panizo signing off. We'll talk to you guys again next week.